What's up, folks? It's Chris here from Gemini K9 Obedience, and today's topic we're going to be talking about the long line. The long line. We use this as a key tool in the way of introduction to off-leash work. Whether we're doing basic obedience dog training or we're doing some form of working dog stuff, we will utilize our lunge line. Now, the long lines, they come in varying lengths. We have anywhere from 15 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50, 60 feet. Generally speaking, the longer the line, the more control you have over a given situation. We use them extensively in our IPO work. We use it for the recall work. We use it for the dumbbell retrieval, the send out exercise. In protection training, we use it for the blind search, which gives us added control to make sure that the dog will go to the directed blind. And obviously in tracking, we use a 33-foot tracking line, which is again regulation length. So the long line has many different applications. For basic obedience, it's great for distance work again, for our recall, for our sit and down stays at a distance. We do the recall in a way that is formal initially, where we have the dog seated and we'll travel out the length of the line and call the dog to us. Then we'll do the informal recall, where we'll have the dog just wandering about in a given situation, in a given area, and wait for the dog to be consumed with a distraction before we call the dog, and at which time we'll pick up the line and draw the dog into us. Once we get the dog seated in front of us, then we'll bring out the toy and reward the dog. But the beauty of the line is it teaches the dog that whether it's 6 feet away or 60 feet away, you have optimum control over the dog. So with that said, let's head out to the training area and do some work. Okay, for the retrieve exercise, as you see there, I hang on to the dog, then I release him. He goes out, he grabs the toy, and he comes back with the line dragging behind him, at which time we engage in some play. Having the line on is very important, just for the simple reason that if the dog decides to get distracted, whether he sees another dog out in the distance or he smells something on the ground, it allows me to get the dog back to me. Now in this caption here, we have the dog heeling with the line dragging behind him and his toy beside him. And what eventually will happen is when I feel it's time and I'm ready to reward, as you see there, I will break and let the dog get his reward. And then I'm going to throw the toy, which allows the dog to run out, grab it, and then I call him back to me and we engage in some light praise and play. And the whole ideal is just to really keep training control. So my dog, I can play with him by throwing the toy way out, or I can do retrievals with him. Even a recall like you see here, where I call the dog to me from a distance. And again, keeping it controlled with the line dragging behind him. Now he comes in, we give him some praise and some light play. So ultimately, the dog, or the line, gives the dog a sense of freedom, but still gives me a lot of control. That is the beauty to working with a long line. Also, with my dogs, my working dogs, they pretty much live on the long line for a minimum of 3 months. So why I do that is to guarantee behaviors for the off-leash work later on. And even then, when we go to off-leash, we usually convert from a long line to a 2-foot drag line. And then from a 2-foot drag line for several weeks, then we can either go to a pull tab, which is like maybe 8 inches, or nothing at all. But the reason for having the line on the dog for so long is just really to create that habit and to not allow the dog opportunity to make mistakes. this caption now, here we have Max, my retired Schutzen dog, or IPO dog, giving a demonstration of the retrieval with the dumbbell, and again with the line dragging behind him. So once again, whether it be for play or for work, the lunge line is a vital tool in your training scenario, or your training arsenal, in the way of maintaining control for all the off-leash work that you would be doing, whether it be on a working field or in the real world. This is out again. Comes back with his dumbbell. Sit in front of me nicely. No chewing. He shouldn't at this point in time. He's 11 years old. He's been doing it all his life. And as you can see in the way of the training and the play, it's very, very informal. I mean, he's a retired dog now. But this is just, again, to give you a demonstration of how we use the long line. Also in IPO, during the obedience phase, there's an exercise called Descendo. This is where, while heeling the dog down the field, we would give the command voraus, and the dog must leave us in a very straight line for a minimum of 30 paces, heading out very quickly. And upon hearing the down command, must down immediately. The lunge line is ideal for training your dog in the way of teaching him that exercise. Because once we teach him how to go out, we can eventually now teach him to go out and down and reinforce it using the lunge line. So that's another application in the way of our IPO work for the long line. With that said, for CKC or AKC obedience, there's also an exercise called the down on recall, where you would have the dog at a distance, you would call the dog to you, and midway through the recall, you would down the dog. And that's another area where we would use our lunge line. Sometimes we'll have a secondary person behind the dog, and the lunge line would be attached. I usually use a harness as opposed to a neck apparatus. And as I call the dog, and as the dog is moving towards me, halfway towards me, I would say down, at which time I would have the secondary person apply pressure on the line. The dog receives a light correction, which reinforces the down exercise, and then we would reward the dog. All right, in this caption here, this is an actual trial, my Schutzen 3 or IPO 3 trial with Max, and there you go, he's indicated the first article, and you saw me with the long line, 33-foot regulation line that we have to use in trial, and nothing less than that. And again, when we're in trial, we're supposed to have a little bit of slack in the line. It should not be tight at all. But it goes to show you the distance between the dog and the handler. And so I'll let you watch a little bit of the tracking here with Mr. Max as we work on our lunge line. Well, there you have it. You got a chance to see some footage of various applications of the lunge line, things like the recall, even the retrieval exercise. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give our channel a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Until then, we'll see you soon.